of officials to harass our people and eat out their substance.
George III and his bureaucrats taxed and controlled their lives until the people said, enough.
Welcome to another episode of On Second Thought. I'm William Wagener, your host, taking off my white hat for you. And I hope you will gain something from tonight's show so that you won't also be a victim of Child Protective Nazi Services. Some place it's called DCF or DCHF or Department of Children and Families. But it's basically, I call them CPS, which really is Child Imprisonment Services. If a child is really being injured, truly being injured, then like any other human being, the sheriff or the police can arrest the people doing the injury. CPS doesn't really protect children, as most people think they do. That's the con, that's the lie. Remember George W. Bush? He was going to be the compassionate conservative. First thing he did, start a war. Remember Obama? He was going to close Gitmo. Gitmo's still operating, and he's been in office 8 years. If it's coming from somebody political, you can almost be sure they're lying. We the people, as you see behind me here, have to take back America. It's we the people that are going to fix this country, not the social workers. In the Soviet Union, when they took over, when the Leninist communists took over, the first thing they did was take the children away from the parents. And if you objected, they shot you. Now in America, when they come to take your children, very often there's a policeman right behind them. And if you object, they will shoot you. That's the final solution. To me, William Wagener, having looked at this issue for more than 20 years now, not just in my own personal case, which is now long over, but in hundreds of other cases, one of the bravest and smartest people I never met was a man that gets out of prison next year. Some 18, 20 years ago, a CPS worker came, knocked on his door and said, "Have your daughter's bags packed next week. I'm coming back to take her. You're not good enough to be father and mother to your own child." And the man said, "If you come back to my door next week, I will shoot you dead." This was in the state of New Hampshire, whose motto is live free or die. Well, apparently, the worker for social services didn't believe him. And he came back, knocked on the door, and got shot dead right through the heart, right at the doorstep. And the cop that was standing behind him was so shocked because he took the bullet too, went through both him and then hit the cop. Now, of course, she's gone to prison, and the mother and the grandparents end up raising his daughter. But that social worker never stole or kidnapped another child because he was dead. And it had a very chilling effect on that local county's department in New Hampshire on how to deal with stealing. So it was after that period they started going to schools and kidnapping kids from schools rather than doing it right at the home, because it's much less likely you're going to have an armed parent. Now, I can't tell you that shooting a social worker is a good thing for society, but when that supervisor in Texas got killed a few years ago, and he covered it all up and said, oh, it was a personal issue, had nothing to do with her supervising social services. It had everything to do with her sending people out to kidnap children. And one parent said, I'm going to end it. And he did for that supervisor. But the major media would not tell you that because they didn't want copycat killings like the Kurt Cobain, 20 kids overdosed and killed themselves in sympathy with Kurt Cobain, who didn't overdose on cocaine. He was murdered. And we showed you the trailer to that last week. And I hope that film actually gets out, but Courtney Love doesn't want that out. We're not here to talk about that. With me here today is two young ladies that have come down from Sacramento, where there's an event on August 22nd. And this event is probably a lot like the one I went to 2 years ago where Tim Donnelly spoke. On my right is your name?
Christy Ashley.
Christy Ashley. And you're a mother of how many children, Christy?
3.
3 children. On my left is?
Andrea Combs.
Andrea Combs. Now these two ladies really have other things they would rather do than be here. But we the people have got to support them. I don't mean with money. I mean with physical support. Because when they go to court, do you have 100 people go with you to court, Christy?
No.
It's usually when you go into that family court, it's just you alone, right?
Yes. Until very recently, the Justice Reform Coalition has got involved, Sacramento.
Okay. Did you have 100 people go with you with armed guns to tell the judge, you better do the right thing here?
In family court, dependency court, like that would ever be allowed.
Right.
Never.
It's a joke, right?
Right.
But here's a thought I put out there. There's a guy named Cleveland Bundy who lives near I-15 in a place called Bunkerville, Nevada. And in April 10th through the 12th or 14th of last year, the BLM came to kick him off his public grazing lands, which he had filed and had a right since his grandfather's days. As soon as Nevada was formed as a state, they filed. He called and said, help! They're killing my cattle, they're destroying my waterworks. 200 some people came with armed guns. The face down, the rotten Bureau of Land Management.
Here I am ranching on the Nevada desert, and I have snipers up on top of my hills, around my hills, and guess who they're pointing their guns at? They all have their guns pointed at my chest.
Otherwise known as BLM. And after a standoff for a certain amount of time, and when the people from the militia outnumbered them, they went and they said, you've got 30 minutes to give Mr. Bundy his cattle back and get out of here, or you're going to die. And guess what they did?
Give it back.
The BLM hauled ass. They packed up. They had 100 brand new BLM white vehicles just for this operation. They were going to teach Bundy, we got a federal court order. We can kick you off your grazing land. We don't care if you're registered and whatnot. And, you know, and they didn't even have a grand jury. There was no grand jury. And he had fought for 20 years in the court system. Why does Cleveland Bundy got to do with this? I think these ladies, Andrea here on my left and Christy here on my right, they need a militia. So when they call out, it isn't just a bunch of people holding signs saying, hey, we're here to support. You got some guys that just got out of Iraq, just got out of the military, and they got powerful M4s and M16s to say, you better not take her children again. Because if you do, we're coming to your house, social worker, and we're going to take you to jail by force. I think that's what we need in this country. But there's a process I recommend before you do that, and it's called a grand jury. And I don't think you've ever heard of the grand jury by the people, have you?
I haven't.
You have or have not?
I have not.
You have not. How about you?
Have not.
Here they are, 2 victims of the system, and I've been screaming about this for 6 months, but they didn't see the video on YouTube, and they didn't know, because their group, which is called what?
Justice Reform Coalition.
Justice Reform Coalition.
And not exposed CPS.
They don't know about this case called U.S. versus Williams, where Supreme Court justices in a 6-3 decision said, you don't need any judge to appoint you. All you need is 21, 23, 25 people to sign an affidavit and have it notarized, file it with the clerk saying you're forming your own grand jury, not appointed by any crooked judge, not appointed by any governor, any executive, any political leader. Any 25 citizens have this God-given and constitutional right. The case is called, as right here, we'll put right here, U.S. versus Williams. And the citation, the Supreme Court, is called 504 U.S. 36. Meanwhile, who wants to go first?
I can.
Okay, tell us what happened in your case. You got how many kids?
3. 2 from a previous relationship. They're 16 and 17. I have one daughter who's 9 with my ex-husband. When I decided to separate from the relationship, anger took over and a false domestic violence charge was filed. I was arrested on Christmas Day of 2011 in front of my children. I was taken into jail on a $50,000 bond. I still believed in the system. I was going to see the judge. I didn't have $5,000 to get out of jail. I knew I was going to sit there for 3 days, see the judge, and go home. Before I was to see the judge, charges were all dismissed and I was sent home. I came home to a restraining order. My older 2 children from a previous relationship and I were no longer welcome in the home. My ex-husband took possession of my child. We went to...
Which is how old?
5.5 at the time. She's 9 now.
Okay, and you're legally married to this guy?
No, legally divorced October of last year.
But at the time...
At the time, legally married,
you
yes.
were legally married. Mm-hmm. Something went wrong. You got angry.
He got angry.
He got angry. You both didn't get angry?
I was so over the relationship. It was just, I just wanted out of the relationship. He had made an accusation that there was an affair going on. Christmas morning, he shows up at the house angry. I'll get you now. And he did. He did. He had me blindsided by the police on Christmas Day. I was physically assaulted by the police. Christmas Day, I was physically assaulted in front of my children, all 3 of them. He came out. I came out of the jail, homeless with 2 teenage sons. I moved across the street because I lived across the street in the cul-de-sac from my father. The only place to go with my teenage boys was to my father's. My ex-husband made repeated phone calls to the police, 45 plus in the calendar year, regarding just accusation after accusation. We actually went to court regarding this restraining order. The restraining order was dismissed because Judge Jane Ewer had seen the evidence of 40 phone calls from my ex-husband to myself the day prior to the hearing.
40 phone calls?
Right.
In what time period?
The day prior to our court hearing regarding the restraining order.
40 phone calls from your ex to the police?
To myself.
Oh, to you?
So the judge said, you're obviously not that afraid of her. So that's what was said.
Okay.
In basically the restraining order was dropped because of his excessive phone calls. That became a non-issue at that point. He still had possession of my child. So here comes me in to file paperwork to see my child. And that's where the nightmare continued.
Okay, and that's when this document became relevant.
Yes. It states, I'm requesting the petitioner mother submit to a psychological evaluation by Cynthia Newman. I will advance the cost of this assessment if necessary by borrowing money from friends or family. I'm requesting this visitation be supervised until she has provided proof of completion and compliance with recommendations as recommended by family courts or psychologist evaluation by Cynthia Newman. This is dated April 20th of 2012.
I see that. Yeah, there it is.
August 22nd, 4 months later, a letter from Isaac Fisher's office goes to Miss Cynthia Newman, and here you can see a note here regarding a telephone call to myself, and a letter stating the upcoming appointment for Christiashi evaluation in the above titled manner should be canceled as the money Mr. Ruling planned to use to pay the cost of the evaluation has not been received by him. We are in the process of filing a motion against Miss Ashley to recover this money and will keep you updated regarding the status. So I waited 4 months to book this out, doing excessively expensive supervised visitation based on no evidence, just a request. She actually placed a phone call to me to even notify me.
How much did it cost you for each supervised visitation?
$85 an hour.
Holy moly.
4 hour every weekend block, 4 hours on Saturday.
Are you an architect or a lawyer or something?
I'm a part-time waitress, actually. So
you're paying $80 an hour.
I'm actually in a place where I actually can't pay. I cannot no longer pay. It's a matter of I have other children, so it's prioritizing keeping a roof over the children that are in my home. I have 2 in my care,
right.
But their dad's in prison, therefore not fighting for them. So I'm fit to be their mom, but I have to pay to see my little girl.
Yeah, that's like, what's her name? She was on the show here, Miss Powers. Judge gave her custody, 50% time custody with her kids that were staying with the dad in Ventura, but they wouldn't let her have her own baby girl that she just gave birth to, and the father had been killed in a car accident. Shame on you, Judge Garcia, or whichever one of you crooked judges in Santa Barbara did that. Anyway, back to your case.
There was no evidentiary hearing regarding this.
No hearing.
Judge Matthew
just
Gary.
ordered.
Well, Isaac Fisher is a pro tem judge. He represents my ex-husband. My ex-husband's brother-in-law's divorce attorney, Ben Ramsey, in Sacramento County. Ben Ramsey could not represent my husband due to conflict of interest, so he set him up with, of course, a pro tem judge. So here comes Isaac Fisher with Judge Gary on this day writing up a request, and the request is granted, no evidentiary standard. 4 months later, I booked this out. They stall this. I hear no more word. And then all of a sudden,
And meanwhile, you're paying $85 an hour.
per hour for 4-hour blocks. So $85 per hour every single weekend times 4.
On a waitress salary.
Absolutely. That's on top of
That's why you're so thin. You were starving to see your kids.
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely. Prioritizing. Absolutely.
Did you ever dream in your worst dream that this could ever happen to you?
I absolutely never thought that this would happen. Absolutely no. He's going against every agreement we ever had when we decided to have her. He's actually leaving her on weekends or excessive overnight visits with strangers. I don't see her at all. So it went from the psych evaluation to in open court accusing my roommate of being a pedophile to now I'm an alcoholic. So here's 45 weeks of random alcohol testing.
45 weeks of random
All negative.
alcohol testing, and yeah, that one's negative.
They're all negative.
That one's negative.
6 straight months. The judge told me, do not come back until you have a track record.
So now you got a track
First and
record.
foremost, alcohol is not illegal. And second, there was never an issue to start. It was an accusation. It was thrown at me. I'm still desperate to see my child. So I try to do this.
How long has it been since you've seen your youngest child?
Mother's Day. I saw her for an hour.
For 1 hour?
Yeah.
On Mother's Day? Mm-hmm. How long ago? This is...
Mother's Day was May 10th. So we're looking
Today's-
at 3 months ago.
3 months ago. Today's,
She's
I
9.
think, the 7th of August today.
She was she was actually with my brother on Sunday. My brother's just been released from prison for drug charges and burglary. She spent the day with my brother. My oldest son went to the birthday party where my daughter was attending and actually placed a phone call to me saying my brother was strung out on heroin and that my daughter was told my son that she missed me very much and she wants to see me, but she's too afraid to ask her dad. So on to further accusations. In May, my ex-husband had continued to accuse me of having a CPS case. So I go next door to the CPS gatekeeper's office and getting a letter. My children's names back here for their protection.
It says, Dear Miss Ashley.
And you can take this off.
Yeah. It says, to Christy Ashley on Husker Street, Orangevale, California. And then it lists, in regards to your 2 children.
3 children.
3 children here. I see only the last name, your Savannah. Jonathan Hodgkins, Christian Hodgkins, and Savannah Ruling. Dear Miss Ashley, pursuant to your request of April 21st, 2015, please be advised that after a thorough search of the Child Protective Service records, I have found no current open investigation on the above minors. Very truly yours, Sylvia H. Valdez, CPS Gatekeeper. They actually have a title called Gatekeeper? Wow, that's new to me. I've never heard of Gatekeeper.
She's the boss at CPS.
Yeah, I never heard of that title.
So
And then it
because
gives
the
her
judge
phone number.
told me that it was irrelevant, although all of these things
Are never
are relevant. They're relevant in order to allow them to throw the orders, but when I bring in the results of their orders, it's irrelevant. They don't want to see it.
What do you think of Cynthia Newman?
I spoke to her by phone. I had kept in contact with her for those 4 months, just to let her know if there's anything ever available. Because my ex-husband was going to pay for it, I put myself open and available. If something comes up, give me a call and I'll be here. And that's why she placed the telephone call to myself, because she found this letter just she actually received the letter the day before my scheduled evaluation, and that's the first she had heard that they were going to go after me for the money, because all she had seen was
But
this
you did
document
have
here.
the evaluation.
I absolutely did not.
Oh, you did not have the
It's never
evaluation.
been paid for.
So they won't do it until it's paid for in advance. Your ex-husband isn't going to pay for it, as
No.
he said he would.
Right, but now he's thrown alcohol, CPS.
So he keeps throwing
and-
things in there to just muddle it up.
Absolutely.
And it's been 3 months since you've seen your daughter.
Yes, it started with
And she's 9 years old.
it started with Judge Matthew Gary, and then it moved to Peter McBrien, dear Peter McBrien, and James Mize.
Wait a minute, Peter McBride, isn't that the judge that decided to have some trees cut down?
Absolutely.
And he
At
got
FEO Nature Center. He pled guilty to a misdemeanor 3 weeks before he took my parental rights. And he actually assigned sole physical and sole legal custody to my husband.
How can he still be a judge doing anything in your case when he's just been criminally convicted? I missed something went over my head.
That's
there.
the beauty of this. He's not just the judge, he's now the commissioner for Sacramento County. So now he's overseeing not just his own issues, but he's overseeing the whole bench. Matthew Gary, that started this nightmare, Matthew Gary was removed from the bench. Gary no longer does child court. Matthew Gary now does probate. So now he's not just stealing children from families, he's stealing inheritances from
From
families.
the families, yeah.
Yes.
I get it. So,
And James Mize is just as involved. I'm on to now attorney number 5, because I've also had Thad Blizzard involved, who ordered that my daughter be returned to me a year ago for unsupervised weekend visits, and because of one missed alcohol test, which actually showed up on a Friday night, the night before I was getting her for her very first weekend. I got the trial judge's orders by mail with one stipulation that I was to take 2 tests. Come Monday morning after my visit with my child, I missed the test for financial reasons. They're $80. I spent the weekend with my daughter. By Monday morning, I couldn't find the place to get it done fast enough, so I missed the test. The following Monday, I was also required to take a test. Instead of my husband responding in a text message when I stated to him in text message that I have the document where he did write up that that's the text message he received from me, that I said, no can do, I will be honoring the judge's orders across town doing an alcohol assessment. Again,
does this seem like the American...
sole physical and sole legal custody was granted based on one missed test, and he...
And all the other tests were negative. The ones I looked at said negative.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you missed one because you had a visit with your daughter.
Zero history of drug or alcohol abuse.
And you couldn't afford the test.
On such short notice. Really, it was the end of the month in July 30th. I literally that Friday afternoon came home with my money order for rent, had enough money to play with my child for the weekend. By Monday morning, it wasn't until Monday morning did I realize that it was $80 I had to come up with, and I had to be there before noon. It was just something that was just undoable.
What about the coalition? Couldn't you have borrowed it from the members of the coalition?
Well, I wasn't involved. It wasn't actually until I started Googling the corruption in family court, Sacramento County Family Court specifically, and the judges on my case, did I find out about Peter McBrien and Judge Gary and Thad Blizzard and James Mize and all of the collusion involved here. Did I even realize that these resources existed? And that's when I found Facebook, and I started reaching out to other individuals, specifically the ones I've been reading about who have been falsely arrested by these judges, multiple names, absolutely. I actually sought them out, and now I have been brought into that group way later in the case. Had I had them involved in my case early on, they actually just came to a court watch where I had an attorney was supposed to be there on the 20th for me to request fees. For $250, he was going to take my money, go in and approach the judge and say, we just want to level the playing field. And under 3020, I'm entitled to that. I'm also entitled to it under Family Code 270 and 271. Across the board, for all 3 of the reasons that I would qualify for these, I qualify for these. So
When you say not all our audience is up to this, not all our audience has gone through this trauma. What is 230? Explain what these are.
That's the family code allowing to level the playing field if one party has an attorney and the other does not, just to make it a little fairer in court.
So who's supposed to pay for your attorney then?
Oh, well, that's the beautiful thing. The attorney, actually, I brought members of the Justice Reform Coalition. Miss Andrea was there as well. We actually went down to this hearing. It was scheduled for a Monday morning. 6 days prior, both attorneys went and filed a continuation with the family courts. not notifying us. So I went down there with 3 members of JRC, and I hired a court watcher from Sac Family Courts, which I obviously can't afford to do that either, but just for my protection, because I'm not getting the recordings and the people that are going to be able to look into this. I needed the information. I needed it to back me up. So bringing in the JRC, once I knew it was even available, I at first thinking, well, nobody's going to believe me. These are judges. Yes, they do. And they're out there by the thousands, tens of thousands of people who are in my situation in family court for the simple fact of we don't have CPS. I just want a divorce. And that's all it takes. It's basically, I now know whoever lies in court wins. I've proved perjury dozens of times. I've been to court 25 times over the last 3.5 years.
Who have you proved is guilty of perjury, Christy?
Well, I can prove Isaac Fisher is guilty of perjury. I have documents that state
Isaac Fisher is who?
My ex-husband's attorney / pro tem judge, Sacramento
But
County.
don't you know attorneys are allowed to lie in court?
I have actually found this out through my process. I actually believed in the system. I'm the granddaughter of the sheriff in town. I respected the police. I grew up respecting the police. I live in a different world now. That I have a lot more awareness. Absolutely.
America's not the America you thought that flag stood for.
Absolutely not. And it's not until you just want to be a parent without somebody getting angry and realizing that all it takes is whoever lies first in court wins. And so to have my
Bingo. That's bingo. I mean, that's all it takes. Whoever lies first successfully wins. And you never...
Based on
you
this
never
document here
overcome
that starts on 4/20/2012, the last one I received with any commentary from Isaac Fisher, the new documents are stating, based on the history, my mental health history, there is absolutely none. I was on my ex-husband's health insurance for many, many years. He has access to any kind of services or documents through our health care. They don't exist. He's actually proven nothing. He's brought no evidence to back up any of this. I got called to do 6 months of random alcohol testing because my ex-husband stood before Thad Blizzard in trial court, and in trial court, he brought no witness but stated, my friend saw her drink. Therefore, now I have a drinking problem.
Wait a minute. His friend didn't testify.
No.
So this is called hearsay, and it was allowed.
Absolutely. My documents were stamped on the bottom. This was
Did you
not accepted. My supervised visitation monitors reports.
Did you file notices of correction after he made these lies? Did you say, file with the clerk, notice of correction, I have never been seen by his friend drinking? You didn't do that.
I'm a mom and a waitress. Right? Like, I'm learning this as it goes.
As it goes.
And as I'm going through this, I'm looking at this and I'm seeing the errors and I'm seeing the flaws and I'm meeting with the other people who have been affected by Sacramento Family Court.
Did you graduate from high school?
Yes.
Did that graduation certificate from high school, did that prepare you to deal with this?
Absolutely not.
Did they tell you that these things could happen and that CPS would have this kind of power and the courts would do these kind of things?
No.
Did high school tell you any truth about this sort of thing? Or did they just tell you, oh, we have courts and everything's going to be fair and you'll get justice?
And you'll get yes, I assumed a jury trial.
And did you get a jury trial?
Absolutely not, but I know if I jumped a border and came and stole a candy bar, I'd get a jury trial. But if I'm fighting for my rights as a parent, I'm on my own. The fairness in that is unbelievable. Absolutely.
We the people need to take some of these judges by the neck and incarcerate them until they will obey the law. In some counties, did you check in Sacramento, under the policies and procedures of CPS, you have a right by a trial by jury of other parents. Did you know that?
No.
You do now. But you'll have to check in your county because counties vary a little bit and they'll put exceptions into it to wiggle out of it. But you have to assert that right in most jurisdictions the first hearing you're in court. But you don't know anything when you get to court.
Absolutely not. You don't go into it knowing
every
it.
day.
You don't go into it. Like my ex-husband, when he filed the initial restraining order while I was in custody, the restraining order states that my ex-husband only wanted my daughter on the weekends. Until he talked to his brother-in-law, divorce attorney Ben Ramsey in the county, that says you'll end up paying child support. And then all of a sudden,
he wants her full time.
He wants her full time. Absolutely.
So, do you have 25 friends in Sacramento now?
Yes.
Do you think you could persuade 25 friends or acquaintances to sit down, sign an oath of office, have a notary notarize it, and file it with the Sacramento clerk of the court, and
Yes.
form their own grand jury?
Yes.
Yes.
Absolutely.
We can do that
When is the first time you ever heard of this process?
right now.
Right now, actually. Do I know I have a good solid group of people that are like myself in Sacramento County that just want to be parents?
Yeah.
And I don't want to learn anymore. I don't want to be a part of this. I don't want to be in.
Do you
This is
know-
continuously falling down the rabbit hole of family court with
Right.
no hope of getting out.
No hope of getting out.
Until
And-
my ex-husband runs out of money, and the fact that his father just died and left him a vast inheritance, there's more money, and that means my ex-husband is funneling money to the system by legal fees. I'm paying more money into the system on unnecessary services.
I
So
get
they're
you-
getting it on both angles.
I get your point. I get your point. So, if we could bring up that citation for the benefit of Andrea and her friends and Christy Ashley. The citation is U.S. versus Williams. It's a U.S. Supreme Court case. The majority opinion was not written by the Chief Justice. It was written by Antoine Scalia. And he's still on the Supreme Court. And the case name is U.S. versus Williams. And you can look it up easily, Google it on the internet. Its citation is 504 U.S. 36. And if you read all through the case, the details of the case are not that important. What is important is they say that we, the people, not the judges, not the lawyers, not the executive of the governor of the state, but we, the people, stand alone as a fourth branch of government when the other three branches are so corrupt that you cannot get justice, you can't even buy justice, you can't get there. Then you can form your own grand jury, have 21, 23, it has to be an odd number so there's no deadlocks on their votes. U.S. versus Williams, 1992 case, says you sign that oath of office, you have it notarized by a proper notary, they stamp it, you file it with the clerk. When 21 people have done that, they can go meet in a high school gym room, or they can go meet at a coffee house, or they can say to the judge in the courthouse, hey, judge, we are now a grand jury. We want you to appoint a room where we can meet. We're going to start deliberating on a case where we might indict you, judge.
Nice.
You have that right. And the courthouse is there to do justice. The problem is we've got criminals running it. From the judges that are criminals, like, what's his name, cutting the trees down and getting... What was his name?
That's Peter McBride.
Peter. Your meter is running, son, and it's going to run out. And
Absolutely.
And one of these days, there's going to be enough people going to indict you for something really serious, and not only will you be out of the legal system, you'll be doing time in prison, in my William Wagner's humble opinion. Anyway, the case number of that, again, is 504 U.S. 36. Read it. Everybody should read it. Your coalition called what?
Justice Reform Coalition.
Sorry, Justice Reform Coalition?
Justice Reform Coalition, but we're also part of the Family Civil Rights Movement, which is connected with the Up Exposed CPS. This is the name of our event here.
Right, and you got this. Can we bring this shot up here? They're having an event on August 22nd. That's 2 weeks away. And if you're in Sacramento or you want to go there anyway, I recommend you go. The system is broken.
Show support.
Show support, show up. I hope Tim Donnelly will show up, even though he's not in office and he's not running for governor's list as far as I know. I'm sure Donald Penn will be there because he lives up in that area. I wish I could be there, but I'm committed to somewhere else. Anywhere, if you're in the Sacramento area, you want to be there. It's Children's Receiving Home of Sacramento. The address here is 3555 Auburn Boulevard. 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. August 22nd, which is a
Saturday.
Saturday. August 22nd. I'll read that out again. 3555 Auburn Boulevard, 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. All right. Did you have anything else before we go to Andrea you wanted to say?
Yes, just leading into her case, I just want to know that we actually came to be together because I reached out for the groups in Sacramento that were affected by Peter McBrien, Judge Gary, and others. And making the connection with family court and CPS is very important to me because when I speak to families who say, but I don't have CPS, yes, you do. You have family court, they're the same judges, there's the same zero accountability, there's the same lack of due process across the board. CPS, family case, or family court, they are connected, and that's why I'm involved here with the Operation Expose CPS because yes, it is the same suck hole and it's affecting all of the children. This is affecting
suck hole?
the suck hole. It is because once you're in it, you can't get out of it. And they're going to suck the life out of you financially, emotionally, mentally, drain you until you cave and off your child goes to adoption. I just watched it happen.
Well, I hope you...
On July 14th, I witnessed this happen.
July
14th.
of last month
Yes.
with Andrea.
Yes.
All right. On my left here, who's been sitting here quietly for over 35 minutes, what happened on that day in July, Andrea?
Well, July 14th is when the adoption was finalized to my child. But let's go back to June 5th, 2013. That's when the protest occurred in Sacramento with Tim Donnelly.
I was there.
And it was in reference to the couple who had the Sacramento Sheriff's Department come in their home at gunpoint and steal their child.
A Russian couple.
Yes. Let me add, it's so ironic that that protest was held that day because that very night, the police would show up at my door, Citrus Heights Police, and all because I asked for a warrant to enter my home. I had a gun. I got threatened with a weapon. To have that happen to me after it's been all over the news all day that day, of people in an uproar that even happened already, it happened to me that very night. Let's say my...
You weren't the one Tim Donnelly was referring to that day, was he? He mentioned something.
No, because it didn't happen until that evening. It happened after all of that. But I did get Tim Donnelly involved immediately. I looked him up immediately. His chief of staff, Alex, at the time, was fully involved. They were helping me any way they could, with the advice, and they let me know about the National Child Abuse Registry, which I'd never heard of. I guess if CPS is called on you, you're pretty much put on this list and you're marked for life, even if it's unfounded and you didn't even know they were called on you. So I was asked if I was on that list. I still don't know if I'm on that list. But to go back on all of that, the night my daughter was taken, I have the police recorded in my home saying they weren't going to call CPS. It was an issue where my daughter's father had lost custody of her. He wasn't around her very often, and I suspected some other issues with him, so I got custody of my daughter. I did what I was supposed to do as a mom to protect my child. He got mad. He couldn't take her and called the police. That's how they ended up at my house. So it's true, whoever lies first is the one that's going to basically win, even if they don't fight for the child. It's ridiculous. My daughter was taken. I was told, come back to court in 4 days, show pictures of my house. I'd get my daughter back. Only I get to court, and I've got like 5 other things added on to what I'm being accused of. After everything's said and done, I did end up proving that the social worker had withheld evidence a year later. The judge called me an excellent mother and ordered my daughter returned to me.
Which judge was that?
Judge Geraldine Borak. And, this is how CPS and dependency court and family court's connected, because she came from the family court side. She came from the divorce court side into the dependency side, dealing with CPS
But she said
cases.
you should get your child back.
Yeah, she even called me an excellent mother. On June 17,
And you
2014,
didn't get your child back?
I did not get my child back.
Because CPS was more powerful than the judge?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Anytime the judge, this is something everybody needs to be aware of, and you have every right to stand up in court. If you do not agree with what's being said, or you want a definitive ruling, you have every right to make sure it's put on the record. You have every right to tap your counsel on the shoulder and tell them you need a moment to consult with them. They have to stop the proceedings. If your counsel does not give you that moment to speak with them, you have every right to stand up and say, Your Honor, I disagree with this, or I need to approach the bench. You have every right to do that. In my case, and this is a lot of cases, this is why you know, I can't cry about it. It's difficult to cry about it. I do find myself getting emotional, but I'm not the only parent going through this. It's always important to make sure that the judge does not throw it back onto the discretion of the department, because they always make a ruling, but they leave it to CPS's decision. It's ultimately CPS's decision. I attended a hearing last week at the Attorney General's office, and Kevin Gaines from DSS was there, stating how he is the one to give the reports to the federal government, get the funding, and disperse it throughout every single county in the state of California. Every single county in the state of California has been found non-compliant. So I stood up and I told him, why aren't you cutting the funding? And an attorney stood up and told him, you need to send letters out to every single county telling them they're going to get their funding this time, but if they don't do A, B, and C, they're not going to get it next time. And of course, a measure would have to be put on the ballot to do something like that. But it needs to be done. The federal government needs to know they're being fed trash.
Why not just abolish CPS and arrest them and put them in jail and make them prove that they didn't violate your rights, her rights, and 10,000 other parents' rights? Make them prove they didn't violate it. I meant to ask Christy this. Christy, do you know what the 7th Amendment says?
Yes, that I'm entitled to a jury trial. Right?
More specifically,
More
it
specific.
says,
There's more specific.
under common law,
Yes.
nothing worth more than $20 can be taken from you without a jury trial. And that amendment is short, and it starts the first sentence under common law and ends with common law. Why do you think if you raise common law in family court, the judge will say, common law has no place in my courtroom? Why do you think he says that? Because he knows if you know your Constitution, you'll say, wait a minute, I get a jury trial before you take my child, because it's worth more than $20.
Right.
Isn't your child worth more than $20?
My child is my world, and I don't know where she is. I haven't seen her since January.
My relationship
a
with my
crime.
child is
They
priceless.
kidnapped my child. They even got an order to send her out of Sacramento County where they can make $50,000 instead of $10,000. So my daughter's not even in Sacramento County, from what I've been told.
You don't know where she is.
I don't know where my child is. They say right here, my daughter was 3 years old. I have video I'd love to show in a moment. But it says right here, the court has considered the wishes of the child in adopting her out. How is that possible? She's 3 years old.
3 years old. How could a 3-year-old know
what they want? But I've got video of her running to me. I've got video of
Show
her.
the video to the camera. Let's do that on camera 3. Yeah, under the 7th Amendment, Christy, you should put a demand in writing to the court. I want my trial, and I want it soon, or I am going to sue you for breach of your oath of office. That's what you should notify each and every one of those judges that touched your case. And you should sue them anyway. But
I'm coming after the judges on my case, specifically Matthew Gary, Peter McBrien, Isaac Fisher, pro tem judge.
But you have to learn to do it without an attorney, because an attorney will sell you out. You realize that, right? Attorney will
absolutely.
will sell you out.
Yeah.
Yes, I just got burned by an attorney that no-showed at court because he wanted me to attach myself and continue doing more services, and I absolutely refuse. It's unnecessary.
Yeah, they'll take all your money, and then they will sell you out, and then they will sue you for extra billing they claim you owe them. Denise Jones was just wandering through here an hour ago, and she had this problem with her attorney wanting her $20,000 after he did absolutely nothing for her except take her information and give it to the other side. He did not get the other side's information and bring it to her, and then he billed her for another. I said, tell him you're going to sue him if he doesn't give you half your money back, because he did nothing. And I don't know what Denise did with that. I don't think she ever got her money, but he stopped billing her for the last $20,000. You want to show us this video of your? Yeah. Okay. Here we go. Is that your little child?
That's my little girl coming through the door.
Baby girl.
Excited to see me.
Wow, she's excited.
A very happy little girl. And I have another video where it's polar opposite. It's the end of a visit, and they're telling me to pretty much walk away from her. She's screaming, bloody murder, shaking her head no. So there's going to be...
She missed you. It's obvious.
We're very close. She was a micro preemie. My water had broke at 24 weeks. So I was on bed rest in the hospital. She was actually born at 5 months. She weighed 1 pound 6 ounces.
Oh my God.
She spent 106 days in the NICU, and we didn't know if she was going to make it.
Okay, we'll see.
She made it, and I had to take all kinds of classes for her to come home. So
Wow.
she's technically a medical kidnap too, if you think about it, because these babies don't have long life expectancies. Some are known to get lung infections a lot when they're 4 or 5 years old and pass away.
And you don't even know if the foster family
they
has
know-
any of this knowledge or background.
I
about
don't. I don't know if the adopted family knows anything
you.
about
Wow.
this. So.
Did you want to bring up another one?
Yes, I'd love to.
So do you think you can form a grand jury?
I do. I
You
do.
get 25 people, get the oath of office, the correct one for a grand jury, sign it, notarize it, file it with the clerk, and then you get to elect your own chairman of your own grand jury. But if you're going to be one of the victims testifying, you can't be on it because that would be seen as prejudicial.
Absolutely, but we are actually the Justice Reform Coalition. We are doing volunteer court watch.
That's a good thing.
So we're not going to court alone. Going to court alone is absolutely dangerous.
And may I
Dangerous.
add to that too, regarding the Justice Reform Coalition, what we're also doing is we do meet once a month. And what we do is we try to teach the community when we get new members, that even ourselves, learning the codes and learning the laws. We're really trying to keep the attorneys out of it and learn to fight for ourselves.
I found that's the only way you can win.
And we're trying to teach
you can't
others.
win with an attorney.
Because you're not going to get anywhere. They're all connected, and until the federal government really does an investigation and does something, CPS is going to continue to get away with this. The family courts, there's no oversight whatsoever.
Let's see this video. Tell me what we're seeing here.
This video is after a visit. This is very difficult to watch. They were telling me to walk away from her. She's screaming for me in the foster father's arms. We're very close. And
Oh my God, she's reaching out for you.
I told them this was going to go to court, and they're telling me to walk away, but I couldn't. I shut the video off, and what I ended up doing was I grabbed her out of the foster father's arms and sat down to console her. They turned around and went and told the courts that I attempted to kidnap my child. My child never came home. 2 weeks before she used to come home, why in the world would anybody, after fighting for 14 months to get their child home, go and attempt to kidnap their child 2 weeks away from them coming home? The accusations they have are just absolutely ludicrous. They come in there with the most far-fetched things that just make no sense. And it's odd because...
Who in the CPS?
the
Give me the
social workers.
name of the asshole. I mean the social
the
worker.
social workers, the foster agencies,
What was
the
her
adoption.
name? What was her name, Andrea?
The name of the social worker was Jean Promnart. And the
Jean
Promnart. She was
woman?
a woman. And
How old?
She must have been about 60 years old. But the thing about her was I had found out that she worked in another county position for Medi-Cal and had been found insubordinate. She was giving people Medi-Cal that did not qualify. Therefore, they were getting bills in the mail for their doctor's visits. This woman should have never been working for CPS. And I did bring that up with Kevin Gaines.
And did she get fired? Is she convicted of what she
No,
did?
no, I'm sure she's still off doing her thing.
So the system is hiring criminals
Yes, definitely.
and keeping them in the system to cover up.
And promoting them.
And some of them have multiple traffic violations, DUIs, domestic violence. There was an so-called investigation by the former Sheriff John McGinnis and Jan Scully in 2009, where it was discovered there was domestic violence. And these are the people taking our kids. I don't even have half the stuff. I don't have anything like this on my record. How is this person allowed to take my kid, let alone keep their own?
I get it. But
And
you said something, they're all part of the same club, and you're exactly right.
They're having lunch together. The judges,
the judges, the lawyers, but more than that, they belong to the Bar Association.
Yes.
And that is a private club.
Yes.
If you go to a doctor, an OBGY doctor, you know what that is, right?
Yeah, OBGYN, yeah.
Okay, you go to one of them, who gives them a license?
The medical board, don't they?
The state
The state.
medical board.
Right.
It's a state office that gives them a license. If you call a plumber, he's got a license number, right?
Contractor.
State.
From the state.
Yes.
If you go to an architect, they usually have a state license, right? But lawyers do not have a state license.
They just have to pass an exam.
They pass an exam, and then they get to join the private club known as, in this state, the Bar Association of California, or some word sounding like that. But it's a private club. It's like the Moose Lodge, the
Frat boys
Kiwanis.
with no frat. Absolutely.
Yeah, a fraternity. It's a fraternity of legal criminals. And they decide we're above you. I'll give you a couple examples. I know a female attorney out in Utah. She's caught red-handed. She took a minor child's death benefit check, both parents killed in the car accident, told the judge, I'll put it in a trust account for her. She didn't. She took the check, and I don't care, I don't say her name. Her name was Elizabeth Joseph. She took the check, put her own private account, spent the money putting it into her husband's account, and her husband happened to be a polygamist, and the money all disappeared. And when the girl turned 18, said, hey, where's my money? The lawyer said, what money? We spent it all taking care of you. They didn't spend a dime. The girl worked since she was 14, buying her own clothes, working odd jobs and a waitress job. And at 18, she had no death benefit check at all. It was all gone. And they had her on paper. They had the paper. And I went and talked to the DA, who was named James Scarth, was the DA in that county in Utah. And not only I, but a guy named Earl Tucker and a guy named Jerry Webb. We said, what are you going to do? I said, well, we got it on paper. We got a paper trail. She's going to jail, and she's going to be disbarred. I said, okay, let's see that happens. We went home. I had a home in Utah at that point. And he gets together, starts drinking. She starts drinking. So, oh, let's cut a diversion agreement. So they do a diversion agreement. The bar still disbars her, but she never went to prison. And she never really fulfilled the terms of the diversion agreement. And guess what? She's out. She got a bar card back from the private club, and now she's town attorney.
That's not right.
This criminal who stole a little girl's death benefit, both parents killed. In this state, in this city right here, there's an attorney named Michael Scott. 20-some years ago, he was a young judge, snorting something he's not supposed to. And he was snorting chambers. His bailiff was decertified as a police officer, never got his police officer's badge back.
Well, why?
Judge Scott went to jail for only 6 months. And then the second 6 months, he got out of jail in the daytime, went and worked for a law firm, and went and slept in jail at night. He had free housing, okay?
Wow.
And he's now an attorney practicing law again. Shuffle in. We're trying to get a shot here. We're too wide. Now you can zoom in a little more, Stephen. Yeah, a little more. So here's two attorneys. Now this guy, and I asked Mr. Scott, why were you doing drugs? You were a young judge. You had everything going. You're like in your early 30s or something, and you're a judge. You got it made. He said,
Because he had it made.
I liked it. I said, I liked it. I said, you liked the drug that's illegal? That's a classified drug that put you in jail? I said, yeah, I liked it. That's a reason? Yeah.
That's all it takes.
But I was in his courtroom a couple weeks before he turned himself in to another judge, and I watched him sentence a working stiff man to 6 or 7 years in prison for doing exactly what the judge had done.
Hypocrisy.
Yeah. What I'm saying is the lawyers have made themselves a class above all the rest of us. They do something bad, they get a slap on the hand, don't do it anymore, and they get their bar card back.
I have never pled guilty to a misdemeanor of any kind. I don't believe the judge who pleads guilty to a misdemeanor should be sitting on the bench deciding
I agree.
who is fit and who's not fit.
Or a social
And not
workers.
only to continue on the bench, but to get a promotion.
But he's committed misprison of felony in your case. He's getting what's called misprison of felony. And you need to get that grand jury together, and you need to start looking and figuring out all the felonies committed and indict him. Then you hand the true bill of indictment to the sheriff and say, Sheriff, here's a true bill of indictment against Judge Schmuck, Judge Peter Schmuck, and all,
Already
Gary.
in the works. Already in the works. Of
Good.
getting the group together.
Everybody needs to start filing federally. We need to make sure these foster families.
I'm not talking about filing federally. I'm talking about your own Sacramento County grand jury of 21, 23, 25 people who signed an oath of office to serve on the grand jury and to uphold the Constitution.
Yes.
And apply the laws fairly and equally, which they will not do on their judge-appointed grand jury because it's led by the nose by a crooked bar association member known as the prosecutor for the district attorney of that county. Your grand jury can choose their own leader, pick their own witnesses to testify. This is really important for you ladies up there to understand. You have the power, but the lawyers out there, and they're watching me right now, because this is a live show here tonight in Santa Maria, they're not going to tell you this. Why do you think they won't tell you? Because you'll indict the lawyers.
Absolutely.
I've got tape of lawyers in an elevator talking about how they're going to screw the parents. We're going to keep them fighting. I think we can get 20,000 out of here. We can get another 10,000 out. Yeah, we're good for another.
Or that child's real cute. That child will get adopted out real quick. That's another one they're playing too.
But I mean, these guys are adversaries, and they're talking not about the best interest of the child
Not at all.
or the best interest of the parent. They're talking about how much more can we squeeze. Would you like to know which attorneys those were? Because I have it on video. Of course, they didn't know I was videotaping, and it was in a public elevator. Yeah. And there's the reading of the California Constitution. Did you have another video you wanted to show us?
I actually had a picture of my daughter that I would like to show.
Your 3-year-old?
Yeah, she'll be 4 on August 19th. And that's absolutely heartbreaking that that I don't have her with me. But I would just like everybody to keep, just see this
They
face.
adopted her out already.
They adopted her out on July 14th. Christy Ashley was kind enough to go sit out in front of the courthouse with me all day, hoping to see
We
my
were there
daughter.
at 7:30.
We were there at 7:30 in the morning.
See her?
No, they brought her in through a back door. I'm sure
course.
they did. And it's heart-wrenching because these adopted families, a lot of them go in there thinking they're doing the right thing, but even though they're getting a lot of kickbacks too at tax time, they're making money off our children too. Don't think
Now, you
they're
had
not.
a judge said you should get your daughter back, right?
Yeah.
You had a CPS worker that filed a negative report
The
because
supervisor ended up going in there. Her name was Christy Adams, and she went in there, and she was the actual supervisor. She was a new supervisor. She went to, she actually came into court and off the record spoke to the judge.
you need a militia to go take your daughter back with a order from your own grand jury. That's what you need. And you need the judge indicted. That's why I keep talking about U.S. versus Williams, 50436. She's a cute little
Her
girl.
name's Neilani Capri.
When was this picture taken?
This picture was taken in December 2014, I believe. I haven't seen her since January 23rd. Was the last time I seen her? 2015.
So she was still at home with you when you took this picture.
No, that was at the foster agency because they took my unsupervised visits. They shut me down completely. She wasn't coming home.
After the judge said you should get him back.
Yeah, they did everything they could to keep my child because she's cute. She's
Okay,
cute.
that's fraud. When the judge said you should get your child back, why didn't it happen that day?
I didn't know that when a child is ordered returned, usually it's supposed to be done within 48 hours. I didn't know that. The judge ordered my daughter returned to me on June 17th for August 5th was the date she was supposed to come home. I don't know. I didn't know. This is something I go through every day.
So, fraud has been committed in your case. Fraud has been committed in your case.
Yes.
Fraud undoes everything. I went to law school, by the way.
I did not.
I did. I
now
went to
carry
law
the
school.
Constitution around in my pocket. Thank you, Bob Saunders.
I even attempted to go to the appellate court. She served it for me to get. We filed a motion to reinstate the case.
You need to go after these judges, get your own grand jury, a We the People grand jury, to do a true bill of indictment after taking evidence. Remember, you have to preserve that evidence because when you indict these judges, they get to see your evidence. So everybody that
Gladly.
testifies, they're going to get to see it, and you have to be able to produce it. But the sheriff is supposed to arrest them, take them into custody, lock them up until they post bond, and you should, in your true bill, say they're a flight risk. No bond should be posted.
Absolutely.
Why are they a flight risk? Because we've had other judges flee the country or try. One left, I think, Chicago, and they caught him at the Texas border.
Easy
right
to do with
before-
that kind of money.
When you got the money, the judge, and the power
Just
of the
hire a
credit
private.
card,
Yeah, they got the money to hire a private
they
plane.
can
to
take a
take
private
them.
plane and fly
Bam,
out.
they're
So
gone.
they're a flight risk, and there should be no bond until they have their jury trial.
Yes, I totally
Or better
agree.
yet, let them appoint me as the judge and have a common law court trial, and I'll be their judge, and I'll be fair.
We need some.
I'll be absolutely fair.
Yeah, right. We need some third-party oversight. We need a third-party,
people.
non-discriminatory. Yes, that's what we definitely
we the
need.
people are the third party. We got to take back our government. And the thing is about the lawyers, oh, your daughter is so adorable. God, She is so cute.
Thank you. I miss her.
This is, you know,
It's not
whoever
okay.
adopted
Nilani.
Leilani, don't get too comfortable because fraud has been committed. This is white slavery. This is
Human trafficking
human trafficking.
at its finest.
And if you keep this child or harm this child, the militia that comes to get you will be authorized and have the right and power to use whatever force necessary. So keep that in mind. You need to get this child back to the mother.
Work with me.
Or at
Figure it
least
out.
start working with Andrea. Start making sure she gets visitations.
Sue the
'cause this-
government yourself.
This child is being traumatized and you've been suckered in. No matter how much they paid you to adopt her,
You've been lied to.
you've been lied to. And that's what the courts are doing. And so we don't have the Article 3 court spoken of in the Constitution where justice actually prevails. Now it's organized injustice, isn't it, Christy?
Absolutely.
You learned that the hard way.
I did.
High school didn't prepare you for this.
No. I actually had 2 children from a previous relationship with no issues. Their dad was off early, in and out of drugs, no involvement with the boys whatsoever. I'm currently allowed to parent those 2 with no CPS oversight for 2, but my daughter's dad is willing to pay the courts to keep her for me and force me to pay to see her. So they're getting money on both ends. But yet, my older 2, as cute as I think they are, they're teenagers. They're 16, 17. They're not adoptable. So CPS
Well,
won't get involved.
They'll be adults pretty soon.
Right.
But you remind me of this gal whose name was Powers, and I got an attorney for her, and I was so upset when the attorney came to me and said, well, Miss Powers herself had been in the system years ago. We're not going to win this one. And I'm like, what are you talking about? She's working. She goes to church 4 times a week. She goes to church. She rented a bedroom in a really nice neighborhood, 1.5 blocks from the church she goes to. She's got baby clothes, a crib. She had all that before she gave birth, and they took the child from Miss Powers the day after it was born. She was nursing the baby, and they came in and ripped the baby off the nipple
That's wrong.
and took it. This is a crime. And Judge Garcia, I look forward to seeing you go to prison for that because you had a hand in it. All the good you do now ain't going to cover up for the crime you did.
I don't know how they sleep at night. I would love to know what they're doing to sleep at night. Are they just getting so drunk that they pass
They
out?
do.
What are
They
doing?
get drunk. A lot of these judges get drunk. We had a judge in Santa Barbara. He was on a one of these monitors. I can't remember if that was Judge Brown or
They
who
could all
that was.
carpool off a cliff and we could start over.
Yeah, right? I would love to see that one.
You know,
And
they're
I
gonna
say that
have
all
a
the time.
Convention on the new SS Titanic of judges. They're going to sail out to the Pacific and go scuba diving with the whole ship.
Great.
Sink them. You know what you call that? A good start.
Hey, put the CPS social workers on there too, please.
Yeah, put them in the 3rd class luggage.
Make them shovel the
rooms.
coal.
Make them shovel coal as the ship sinks.
I hope they light a
No,
cigarette and post.
seriously, these people are criminals in office.
They are.
And when I think about the kids raped up in Oregon, and I think of the dads that have committed suicide, we have a bridge between here and Santa Barbara. It's got a 500-foot drop. I think it's called Coldwater Canyon Bridge. 15 dads have jumped to their suicide there rather than go back and face family court again.
The highest suicide rate amongst mothers are mothers who've gotten their children taken from them. And I'll tell you, every Father's Day or Mother's Day, there's at least 2 or 3 women that I'm talking out to commit suicide. I literally will be on the phone with them all day. Here I am going through the trauma I'm going through, but I found that I need to be strong for others, and others need to learn to be strong too, because that's the only way we're going to get through this
Good for
together.
Good for you. We got to do it together. What happened 2 years ago? Tim Donnelly didn't get the support of the non-custodial parents. They just didn't come together and
Because
get 'em
I think Tim Donnelly, though, honestly, it's unfortunate that I know he has a radio show now, and I have tried to contact him numerous times, and it's unfortunate that he's not at least doing a CPS issue here and there. But he really did, I think, open the doors. They started to open, but then he went away.
Yeah, they
And
got
so
him to go
so,
away.
so it didn't keep coming. It
And
wasn't pushed.
The
and
criminal Democrat from this county and some other criminal Democrats and some criminal Republicans. I got them on video. I was in the conference room. They're all voting yes, I vote yes, I vote. We're going to audit CPS. Where is the audit?
And I have the audit number, so when you
Where's
guys
the
are ready to
audit?
audit, I still have my audit number, and it's never been audited. And I have an audit number since September 2013.
Well, hang on to it, because you need to testify to this grand jury that you need to get put together in Sacramento. And they can meet in secret. The judges don't have to know. Of course, they will know, because the clerk will say, oh shit, what is this? This isn't appointed by a judge. And that's going to be your first hurdle. You're going to have to cite 504 U.S. 36, U.S. versus Williams, to the clerk and say, you better file these. And then it's going, hey, judge, you got somebody here? And the judge will get word, oh, crap, somebody's forming a grand jury. Yeah, 504 U.S. 36, U.S. versus Williams. And he'll get, the word will get to the judges. They're forming a new grand jury, and ain't one you appoint the judge. It isn't the presiding judge appointment either. This will make them nervous, because you will meet in secret, take your evidence, and then you just bring victim after victim, walk them in, have their recording device, make them swear to tell the truth, present their documents. You guys, you don't even have to invite the judge for his side. That's how grand juries work. When they indicted Michael Jackson right here in this county, they didn't invite Michael Jackson to the grand jury. They had this crooked DA we had, Thomas Snake Snedden, slithered into that room, and he got these boys to lie. And he said to this boy, here, is this the magazine Michael gave you in bed? And the boy took it and held it. And now this is a DA with more than 25 years experience in the DA's office, okay? He's not just out of law school, just hired last week, okay? 25 years elected in office. He says, look through it. So the boy's looking at all the girly pictures. And one of the grand jury says, shouldn't that boy be wearing gloves? If not for that one grand juror that spoke up, and the court reporter got it on the record, shouldn't that boy be wearing gloves? When the trial came up, the defense attorney wouldn't have had any way to prove that the boy got his fingerprints on the magazine at the grand jury in 2004, even though Michael had been indicted in 03. I think it was October of 03. They did the Neverland with 80, 90 sheriffs rushing in there and Tom Snedden, the DA, leading them. And they confiscated the magazine, which had just been printed in October of 03. But the boy hadn't been back to Neverland since 6 or 7, 8 months before that, before the magazine was published. So it couldn't have been the magazine that anybody gave him in any bed, much less Michael. My point is, they fabricated false evidence. And this was our elected DA, the second most powerful person in the county. So
We are in the works of pulling together the group of Peter McBrien victims. Specifically, Peter McBrien will work out from there.
you can sue in federal court if you want to go after Peter Pumpkin Eater, but if you form your own grand jury and you do it correctly and you indict him with a true bill of indictment, when you go to that federal case and you point out, and by the way, Peter Pumpkin Eater here, who's already got a criminal record, has been indicted on many felonies, that will carry a lot of weight. And of course, his attorney will argue, oh no, you can't bring that in here. Oh yes, you can. You know why you can? Because in the Michael Jackson case, they changed the law specifically to bring in prior bad acts. Remember that term, Christy Ashley, Andrea Combs, remember the terms. Prior bad acts. Prior to the Michael Jackson case, you could never bring up any prior convictions or any prior arrests. You were not allowed.
Yeah.
But they changed the law to get Michael Jackson, to nail him. And they still couldn't, because the man was absolutely 100% innocent. I was at the trial every day for 5 months. And I saw it all. The man was absolutely innocent. They crucified a saint, and he was never the same after that trial. To see people accuse you of the most horrible things while some of these attorneys are doing exactly what they accuse Michael of doing.
Oh, they're the attorneys, the judges, the social workers. They're all. I mean, you've got. I don't even want to go there yet, but there's some stuff that's going to be coming out here pretty soon about some social workers. Supposedly, you got this newly formed Bureau of Child Justice here in the state of California that right now consists of 5 prosecutors. They have ultimately want to have 20.
I have no faith in anything
And I don't
formed
either.
by the prosecutors or the government. I have zero faith.
They're supposedly investigating some of the counties, but why are you going to investigate the counties? Take the funding, do the proper thing. If you're going to investigate, turn it over to the federal government and have something done about it.
No,
'Cause they're
turn it
just-
over to we the people.
Well,
We the people have nothing to gain financially. We're not looking for a pension. We're not looking for a salary. I'm not looking to get elected president. I got one point, to be in the grand jury and get the scumbags out of the system. And the system is now 95% scumbags. Absolute filthy people we would not let in our house. And yet these people come in with guns and
They
badges.
force their way into our homes.
Yeah, they forced their way
The
in.
people aren't educated about the law.
And did your high school teachers educate you about the law?
No, you go in with good faith that you're going to walk in there and the judge is going to see the evidence
you're
and
doing-
make it
yeah.
right.
And then you
when
find out he won't even let the
there's
evidence in.
no evidence, there's
They won't
no.
let you in. You have to file your evidence with the clerk before you even get in there. Yeah, let's look at the red state picture in Ashley's documents again. Let's look at that.
Ashley's.
Did you have another picture or video you wanted to show us, Andrew, while he's pulling this up?
Yeah, I want to. Since my daughter's birthday is right around the corner on the 19th, I would like to show a video of her birthday last year.
I just got to mention, it was 8 years ago. I was in Washington, D.C., where Mike and Jolly came from England and climbed up
That's her 3rd birthday.
with Batman and Captain America costumes. They climbed up on Abraham Lincoln's lap at the memorial. And the police swarmed in. And my co-host was there named Susan King. And they grabbed the chip out of her camera because she's got pictures of him. They didn't want people to know the Fathers for Justice were climbing up on the lap of the statue of Abraham Lincoln saying, we can't get justice. They didn't want that image out there. So they were confiscating. And I came in, I got there, they called me, but I got there too late and it was all pretty much over when I got there. But there is some video on Fathers for Justice website. I don't know if you've ever looked at that.
Yes. Yes.
But
Father's
I did
Hearts
an
on-
interview with Mike and Jolly the night before they did it. But you won't see CNN, Fox News, ABC, none of them will touch this. They don't want you to know. Let's roll that, Stephen, because we're running out of time here. I'm going to hear the music come up again pretty soon. There she is. What a cute little girl.
This was on her 3rd birthday last year on August 19th. She'll be 4 this year on the 19th. So this was my visit at the park. Instead of her coming home and us having the big party we were going to have.
You want to go down that
this is what I
one?
had.
You know,
You want mommy
it's
to go
like
down it?
one of my prior guests,
You're going to go down it.
Angel
Okay.
Boris. She didn't know her mother had been in court fighting for her to get her back out of
Are you having fun?
CPS foster care. Oh, she's so cute.
She loves
Our
fun.
girls will know. Our girls will know.
Yeah, I think so.
At this point, all bets are off. They've already violated laws on multiple levels. They've already taken my child. What else are
They've
they going to
hurt
do
us.
at this
Yeah,
point?
all these many weeks of negative tests, and the judge then says it doesn't matter.
It's irrelevant.
irrelevant?
It's irrelevant. Ma'am, I don't even recall ordering it. Was word for word.
That's ridiculous.
Yes.
Yeah, this is what I call this. Christy, in case you're not familiar with the term, see, I went to law school. I went to Western State Law School, and I went to some other flimsy law school before that. But I went to Western State Law School in Orange County. This is called fraud on the court. This is called misprision of felony. And the correct term for their crime is high treason. You know what the penalty is
Yes.
for high treason?
I heard that with about the social workers.
High
Yes.
treason, you know what the penalty is?
Hang them.
Hang them. Hang these judges. They should be found guilty of high treason and sentenced by a common law judge, which could be anybody you pick. Could be me. Pick me. I'll be a fair judge. a common law judge, I'll let his evidence in, I'll let him speak, I'll let his lawyer speak, and then I'll hear the other side, the victim's side, and then, we'll let the jury decide. I would prefer a jury of the victims, but the penalty for high treason is death. And I think we haven't had enough people hung. We need presidents to be hung. LBJ comes to mind right off the top because he was part of the murder of JFK, his own president. So he could be president. LBJ, dig him out of his Texas grave and hang his corpse as an example. I know that sounds loony, but how else do you drive home that these are criminals in office? Here you have Christy on my right, Christy Ashley on my right, and you have Andrea Combs on my left. They can't get justice. They're living in a county where the state capital is, and they can't get a judge to order her child back immediately. We had 3 men sent to prison here, right here in this county, Santa Barbara, California. They were stepdads, and all 3 of them had daughters that wanted to date druggies, and the dad said no, just to show there are such things as good stepdads. So the girls got even by claiming their stepdads molested them. All 3 dads were put on trial, and at least 2 of the 3 girls then went back to the dad and said, oh, I lied. He really didn't molest me. I just wanted to date this jerk over here. Now I broke up with the jerk, so it doesn't matter. Sneddon would hear nothing of it. Snake Sneddon said, not letting that evidence in. The girls said this on their affidavit, put them in jail. So all 3 dads did a collective, I think, of 25 years in state prison for something they didn't do. And then the girls grew up, got married, found Jesus. What do you think they did after they found Jesus?
Admitted they lied.
Admitted they lied and went to the courts and other people and said, look, my stepdad did molest me. I was an angry teenager. I wanted to get control, get rid of my stepdad so I could date the druggie who once was giving me pot or whatever, alcohol, I don't remember what it was. All 3 dads were ordered released, and they were released the same day. The same day. Why can't she get her daughter back the same day? The judge said her daughter should be returned to her, but it didn't happen. CPS is more powerful than the judge.
Definitely. The judge will make a ruling and always leave it to the discretion of the department, and that needs to stop. If a judge is going to make a ruling, you're the judge. Otherwise, why do we have you on the bench? Why are you there, period, if you're just going to throw it back on CPS? The accountability is not there. Nobody wants to be held accountable.
They do make the orders in family court.
Yeah, I think you're right. And I think oftentimes, and here's another one of the frauds, and you need to go get your original documents, and this will take some expert testimony. Oftentimes, when they come with a court order and say, here's my court order, I'm taking your kid. You look at it, if you look at it, it's a robo-signature. The judge didn't actually sign it.
I have multiple unsigned.
She's got multiple. You do have multiple
Unsigned?
Unsigned minute orders.
Unsigned minute orders.
Oh, have you got multiple missed
Multiple of
prisons?
them in the next room
I
over.
forgot about
Yes,
that.
I do.
Yes. Yes, I sat there. I was looking. I was like, Christy, these
You have
aren't
those with
signed.
you?
They're in the other room, but yes.
I
Maybe,
forgot about that.
She saw them.
I was looking at it. I noticed it. I go, Christy, these aren't signed.
Maybe Angel
Numerous.
could bring those in.
There's
Just
numerous.
flash in here. But multiple unsigned, you should have shot them. You could have killed them.
I'm a desperate mother, and I'm wondering why am I allowed to parent 2 teenage boys with nobody coming in, no CPS coming to, no oversight.
But you can't have
I've
your
called
kid.
CPS on myself twice, saying maybe they're going to help me
That's
see
a
my
big
child, because
misconception.
on the outside
Yeah.
we're looking and thinking they help you with reunification. They wanted nothing to do with me. My daughter's with her dad.
But if they come with unsigned emergency order, they don't have an order. If it's not signed, not even stamped,
Possession is 9/10 of the law.
you should have
and
kept
my
the kid
ex,
and pointed a gun and said, see this Glock millimeter? There's 2 bullets with your name on
he
it.
took possession of my child
Through a
while I
restraining
was
order.
through a restraining order.
Oh.
And on Quora.com, he is Isaac Fisher, and I have the documents out there because I printed them from Quora.com, his legal website, where he actually gives legal advice, saying if you want to take possession of the home, file a restraining order to get an immediate kick-out order, kick-out being in quotes. That's what happened to me.
That's how he got the full custody, because it was with
Domestic
a couple
violence.
with minor child.
What's this you wanted to tell us about, Andrea?
Oh, this is everything I did. They had me busting my butt. The social worker went in there and said that I hadn't done anything. I've got numerous. I mean, I did some classes twice, but they were
Some classes twice.
Yeah, I did. I got.
This
I got
is dated
multiple,
August 30th, 2013.
Yeah, this is when my daughter was taken in June. I didn't even receive anything like this until the end of August. So she totally delayed and I never signed anything saying that I've never signed anything that would do any of this. This is not signed. This I got from them, and usually this is the case plan. And when you sign it, that's pretty much admission of guilt. I never signed anything. They don't have anything of me
Signed
signed.
by you. How dare they?
They stole my
Auction
daughter.
off your kid. It's
stole
white
her.
slavery.
Yeah,
It's
There's-
white child slavery. This is human trafficking by the government.
Yeah, they have these children posted online. They have these foster children actually posted online. You can shop for them online. You can look at their pictures online and shop for kids.
And that's how they got little Johnny Gauch.
Oh yes.
You know
in
Johnny Gauch?
1982.
I interviewed his mother.
Mom, that
Did
woman.
you see that
is-
interview I did with
That
his
woman,
mother?
I've got chills. That woman has. I watched her video, a video of her. When my daughter got taken, and she's really a huge strength in my eyes.
Her
She really
son
is.
was a Boy Scout. He
And
was
abducted.
He
delivering
had a
papers.
paper route. He had a straight A student. Then the pedophiles kidnapped him off his paper route that Sunday morning. And when I first heard Mrs. Gauch telling the story at a convention, I was like,
The pictures popping up out of nowhere.
I'm just like,
government involved.
this is crazy.
Huge.
This can't be true. And then I read her book, and I said, okay, I got to go there. I got to go to Des Moines, Iowa. I've got to, and I did. I went to the police station, and I said, can I have a picture of your former police chief that was here during the Gauch thing? Oh, no, you can't have that picture. Why not? You got these other police chiefs' pictures out. Well, you can't have his. Why not? They
Generals
wouldn't
involved,
show me.
everybody was involved.
The chief of police was involved.
They all were. The generals.
The publisher of a major newspaper just a short distance away from West Des Moines, he was involved. And what I learned was they raped that little boy, homosexually raped him until he decided gay was okay.
Yeah.
He wasn't orientated that way.
Brainwashed everything.
And he was traded out to a sitting congressman who I later got on tape in Massachusetts. And he was reelected even after he was censored by the House. This is how bad CPS is. And you think your cops, your sheriffs, your police are all on your side? They're not.
And I know right now.
There may be some good ones, but they're not all good.
I know you mentioned the pedophilia that takes place right now, and with that, I might add, a friend of mine on Facebook, David Paul Jenkins, right now is one of the people that led the protests against David Cameron over there in the UK this past month, and that is a huge thing. The pedophilia is notorious over in the UK, especially.
It's huge.
I know there's so I understand where that's coming, but there's a lot of, I see children abused on a daily basis, physically,
Do you remember-
emotionally, and why are they still with their parents? How come
Do you
nobody's
remember the
saving
woman
those children?
in Northern California that shot the pedophile dead in court when they gave him a life sentence?
Yes, I do. Yes, and she
Do you
later
think
died.
she
She
was
later died
justified?
of brain cancer. Did she not? Yes.
Yeah, she died of cancer later, but I think she was justified. I think that's justifiable homicide.
Yep,
Absolutely.
absolutely.
Because the sentence that judge was giving the pedophile was such an insult to what had happened. It was like saying it's no big deal. It's no big deal. He would have learned to be homosexually raped anyway. No, he wouldn't.
I remember that very well.
That mother should have gotten the Mother of the Year award for shooting that pedophile dead. Yeah.
Yes.
Right.
She should have got the. She's dead now, I think.
She died of brain cancer.
Yeah, she did. It's unfortunate, but I think she did the right thing.
And Ellie Nessler.
Yeah, Ellie. I was just gonna say. I was trying to think of her name.
Nessler.
Yes.
Yeah, I couldn't remember. Thank you, Christy Ashley. See, we do have people that are getting involved. The problem is the people who were involved 20 years ago are no longer involved. Their issues are gone. They've died. Their children have grown up.
My daughter will eventually have a child. I may not be able to fix this situation in a timely manner with my child, I am 100% involved in making sure before my child has a child and someone gets angry and takes her child,
High five.
You know, let me tell
it
you.
doesn't stop with
High
my
five.
child.
Because it's not just about our children. This is about all children. This is about our future grandchildren. Because what people don't realize is they walk away. They don't do anything because they're like, oh, my case is closed. I got my kids back.
No.
But you know what? Your grandchildren are guaranteed targets. Now that your children have been in the system, your case is not closed. It's far from over.
I'm glad you said that, Andrea, because that was the case with many, many. That was Miss Powers' case, who was on my show. And they took her cute little girl. Well, she just got 50% custody in 6 months of the year with her 2 teenage sons, but she can't have her own little girl? They ripped her.
Nickname, Powers is my nickname, so I'm relating very well.
Yeah, there's a video. I've got her, and she was sitting right here in the studio. I think it was 8 years ago. So we're getting close to the end. And I want to mention again this event, August 22nd. Go up there if you can
And this
join
is
them.
nationwide, so even if somebody were to happen to see this broadcast in another state, please look up in your state. Just type in OP Exposed CPS International Day of Protest on Facebook and look for your state, look for your county, because this is going to be held from the 20th to the 22nd internationally.
Across the country.
Yeah.
What's the website?
It's on Facebook. You can go to anonresistance.com, but primarily just go to Facebook and type in International Day of Protest.
International Day of Protest. This one's held at 3555 Auburn Boulevard, 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. in Sacramento area. I hope you people can be there. I'm William Wagener, bringing you, I think, something which should give you second thoughts. CPS is not there for the best interest of the children. Family court is a dungeon. It's a star chamber proceeding. If it wasn't, media would be allowed. And I'm still waiting to get the autopsy photos of little Alberta Sepulveda, shot dead 15 years ago at age 10 or 11 by a SWAT team leader, and they found no drugs in the house, no cash. There was no connection to any illegal activity, but Alberta was dead. And I said, I want to see, because the guy had a shotgun. The SWAT team has Alberto face down on the floor, and they got the gun 2 inches from his back, and then he said it accidentally went off and blew Alberto's heart out the front of his chest.
That's awful.
11 years old. And then they drag the mom in her baby doll pajamas out in the front yard and take her off, and she doesn't find out till they release her at the end of the day. Oh, by the way, your son's dead.
No justice, no peace.
I went to Modesto, I went to the mayor, and I said, I'd like to do an interview about the Alberto Sepulveda case, even if they don't speak English. I want an interview with you, Mr. Mayor. He said, oh, we don't want to do that right now. Tempers are high right now. Well, yeah, you just murdered a child. Anyway, that's off subject. My point is, don't trust your government. It's run by criminals, pedophiles, and racketeers. It's all about the money. It isn't about justice. Thank you, Christy, for being here. Thank you, Andrea, for being here. It's a long drive. You came all the way down from Sacramento. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having us. Neilani, if you're out there, Mommy's looking for you. Mommy loves you.